Greetings, welcome to the Midnight Society. I'm Patrick, along with a familiar face, our fellow ISC Midnight Knight, Ben from Cadaver Club, coast to coast. And we are here to talk A24 here on the Midnight Society. Wow, I did that flawlessly. I'm getting better at this. All right. So, Ben, how's it going, sir?
It's going pretty good. There's a fucking bug zooming around my head, though. As I got my windows open because it's hot as fuck.
It's Megalon.
Yeah, there's like some kind of beetle from the deep fucking with my ears. So if you see me freaking out, it's either because of that or I'm possessed, one or the other.
Those damn Ceetopians.
Yeah, I'm gonna punch it if it gets close enough.
Yeah. Hey, why don't you just whistle for the boys? They'll come on in and rescue you.
Man, they're too busy to fucking catch bugs, man.
Yeah,
bitch. Fucking punch that bitch.
As you may or may not know, me and Ben, we have tremendous fun with kaijus. He's got one of the best kaiju collections around, and we have so much freaking fun with it. And of course, we're super excited when we got the news that Kong versus Zilla is happening again. And now we were just talking before we came on here about who our big friends fight. Kong and Godzilla, who are going to fight? We're hoping for Gigan, because it would probably take the both of them to take on Gigan, wouldn't you say?
I guess it depends. I mean, Gigan in Final Wars was a big fucking pushover, man.
Everybody was. You know what I really felt bad about too, and this sucks, is the fact they wasted Ghidorah. You know, it's like Ghidorah's like always been the big, as far as organic kaiju goes. He was always Godzilla's biggest nemesis, and they just wasted him in a supporting role. And I was like, wow, that's sort of anticlimactic for him.
I mean, he was kind of a pretty big star in that film, right?
He was all right, but I mean, he's
like
always
big bad. He was like the big nemesis.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, he was nemesis, but he was supposed to be stopping Godzilla. Him and Mothra and Rodan, they were supposed to be stopping him, and I don't know. I just felt like he needed to stand alone. You know, Godzilla and him needed to stand alone and throw blows. But tonight we're not talking about Godzilla versus our boy Gigan. Well, maybe we will. We are going to be talking about the film X, and you may have noticed that we're a little bit light on the panel tonight. Ken from Mid Level Media had to work a little bit later than he wanted to, and then our good friend Monty G's wife took ill. So we're sending out our love and prayers to Monty and his wife, hoping her for a quick recovery, and hopefully feeling better really soon. And Monty will be back on here sometime in the future, as will Ken. Me and Ken, we do have something planned for you guys in October, but we'll wait till we get a little closer to that before we reveal it. So we're talking about the movie X. This is in a this movie came out, and everybody hyped up on it. Everybody's jumping on it, and like I saw people they're basically saying this is the best horror movie of the year. This is before the Black Phone. Damn Megalon. This is before the Black Phone came out, and this is before Prey came out. And this is before Terrifier 2 has come out, and this is before Halloween Ends has come out, and yet these folks are sitting there going like, this is the best horror film of the year so far. This is before Vesper has come out, and Vesper looks absolutely amazing. So sometimes people get a little hyped with A24 films. It's not necessarily a bad thing, because I understand that, but sometimes I think it hurts the movie more than it helps it.
What horror movie did you like more than X this year?
What movie did I like more than X this year?
Horror movie.
Horror movie. Well, I can bring up my letterbox. I've watched a lot of movies. I like Children of Sin. I can tell you that right off the bat. Children of Sin. I love that movie more than X.
I haven't seen it.
That movie is disturbing on many levels, and it caused me to be very uncomfortable watching it, which is a good thing. I like being uncomfortable, and Children of Sin definitely did that for me. It's by the same writer director that did the movie called Triggered that came out a couple of years ago. It came out on Wild Eye. It's not on Wild Eye this time. Children of Sin is not on Wild Eye. It's just it's on Tubi. You can watch it on Tubi for free. But yeah, I know
like it's sort of like homosexual reprogramming or something.
Yeah, it's a strong movie and a very worthy villain too. Yeah, that's the one right off the top of my head. I can tell you right now that movie. Yeah, that's been my favorite horror film so far this year. But I want to say this right off the bat that I did like X. I didn't love it, but I liked it, and I do respect a lot of the choices that Ty West made. He did a lot. He did do some daring. He did, he was not afraid to push on the push his actors to do things they normally haven't done before, and I really enjoyed that. I really, I think actors enjoy that, be the challenge, and I know that I enjoyed, seeing some of the faces on the movie.
This fucking fly dude is gonna get punched in its fucking fly sack.
Oh my gosh!
Bitch, I missed it. It's gonna be ongoing. I can tell. He just keeps coming in. He's like, "Fuck you, Ben," and then he flies around, and then he comes back. And he's like, "You suck."
You know what? It's damn Megalon. You know it is. What? He didn't get pizza last night, or what?
I think it's Jeff Goldblum, but what do I know?
Oh my god!
Casey's
Lady Valerie
wants me to punch him right in the fly sack.
Wow, we got a really busy chat going on here. Lady Valerie's here. Jim Fernell Stark's here. Rich New Design is here. Thank you for coming up. Speaking of our Kaiju, the third member of our Kaiju family, Casey's here. More likely not cracking up at you fighting Megalon. Let's see who else is here. The Monkey's here. Hey, Monkey, glad to see you, sir. Bones. Hey, Wes, thank you for showing up. Mark the Shark is here. Sweet. Hi, Betty. I see you up there. And hi, Tatum. How are you? Glad you guys are all here. Echo Zero. So, now you saw X before I did, obviously. I know you mentioned you rewatched it, but why don't you talk to us real briefly? Not specifically, but in general terms. What was your impression of the movie when you first saw it? I mean, do you feel like you were hyped? Were you influenced by hyped, or did you just go into it just like wanted to see what you wanted to see?
These days I pretty much don't really play into hype too much. You know what I mean? I was excited about it because I like Ty West a lot as a director. I typically like A24 films, and I thought the trailer looked fucking fantastic. So I was on board. It did get pretty well hyped up. I don't think it really got. It got a lot of buzz. I wouldn't say that it got overhyped, at least in my opinion or for me. But most people I know that saw it did like it a lot. And yeah. I do know a number of people. I'm in such a weird, I mean, this COVID era is everything's a fucking time warp. I don't even know what came out this year, but just off the top of my head, can you see this motherfucker? By the way,
yeah, he's flying by you. He's clapping his hands like that,
You guys are gonna see me like have weird fits here periodically until I smash that bitch.
Why don't you just pay? Well, you know what? Why don't you just pay? You know what? You know what happened? I can tell you exactly what happened. Quilted probably framed them for something, and this is their revenge.
It's just a motherfucker fucking with me. You think, but he's why is the Fly getting his revenge on me if Quilted's the one that framed him?
I don't, it probably, they heard about what happened to Guy again, got framed up for that French fry theft. And this probably just,
I think it's payback.
Payback's a bitch. Karma, maybe so.
Boy, that bitch was really served cold. Motherfucker.
Best show ever.
But yes, to get back to it, I liked X a lot, man. I didn't think it was. I thought it did get a lot of hype, but I don't think it was overhyped. Nor do I really think it's overrated. I think it's a pretty excellent film. The execution of it was like you were saying when we were off. The cinematography, the way it was shot, the way it was edited, was pretty masterful. I thought. You know?
Yeah. It's the best movie I've watched as far as cinematography goes. It's the best movie I've seen this year. Yes.
There was a few shots like when they're first walking to the little house, lodge house, whatever that thing's called. There's a few shots that really sort of felt like they were paying homage to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's a shot where they're walking at the very bottom of the frame, and then the next shot is like sort of a dolly shot that's angled up as they're walking towards that house.
Right.
And it was subtle, but I noticed it.
The opening scene of the movie, I had to go back and rewatch it because they shot it from the barn, and it looked like it was from when they shot it like this, and then as they're backing out or backing forward, the screen goes from here out to full screen. It starts from widescreen to full screen. I had to go back there because it was like an optical illusion.
It looked like it was going to be like a 4:3 aspect ratio or something, but then they push in and you can see it start to fill up the screen. That looked great.
Some folks have mentioned, obviously this has been an homage to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I didn't quite see that because of the villains, because they were so totally different. I saw some parts of that, but I saw it more. It was. There's one thing he said in an interview. He mentioned it in the little interview. They did mention that how it was weird. It was like you didn't find yourself.
You see that motherfucker? You piece of shit. Fly, go tell your friends not to fuck with me.
Uh-oh. Seatopia on level 5 alert.
Square in his fly sack, dude. I'm telling you.
It reminded me of, though, it was strange because I don't know if you felt this too, but did you ever get that overwhelmingly sense that the couple was evil?
The old couple?
Yeah. Did you get a sense that they were evil?
I did by the end of the film, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But but not at the beginning, right? That was really weird how that was a weird dynamic.
I think by the time you meet the wife, they don't give like homey vibes like, oh, that's like grandma and grandpa. I want to go visit them too. Right off the bat, they were pretty off-putting. He pulls a gun on the dude like he doesn't even remember that he was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know about evil, but not a safe old couple is how I would describe it, maybe.
No. It's funny because it gave me a sense of another movie we watched earlier this year on the ISC show, in Relic. How the grandmother wasn't overwhelmingly friendly, but she had a lot of elderly issues as well, and she was not exactly warm and forgiving either. And it seemed to me like they had the same parallels with that. It's like they're an elder couple. They're more vulnerable, maybe forgetful, maybe not sure everything, suspicious. We saw all that in Relic. And in that one, that's the first impression that I got when we first met them. But
I would say like Relic, didn't feel, the atmosphere felt foreboding and stuff, but like the grandmother in Relic didn't feel foreboding. You didn't feel like unsettled by her necessarily. You know, you felt like unsettled by the situation, and you could
I
see it.
did that. I did that with Pearl. I felt like I felt that too, though. I felt like it was just like I didn't feel like I just felt sorry for her. You know, she just seemed to just really just wanted to be held. That's really what it was. And then she was vindictive like a child if she didn't get her way. You know, that was it. It was like it wasn't her fault because she aged so much. And you know, you really get the impression that if you know, well, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but you get the impression if someone had actually just reached out and gave her just a hug, you know, tap, you know, just a little bit of human touch, this would all never happen.
Well, the
You know,
cameraman did. You
huh?
know, the cameraman did. He didn't make out with her, but they sort of had like a little embrace, and you could tell he was uncomfortable, but he didn't like push her off.
No, he didn't. He was very. He was. You know. He was. You know. But I think he just got a little late to the game. You know, because obviously, as we'll talk, you know, there are some situations that happen that normally I think normally it would have been a quiet resolution. It would have been a really nice moment, but by that time things had already changed. So let's go to the start of the movie because the start of the movie we talked about earlier. Um, it's beautiful. The opening shot's beautiful. The country's beautiful. And you know what? I didn't know this, but I was sitting there watching. And I'm like, where? I know they're supposed to be in Texas, but holy cow, it didn't look like Texas, did it?
Are you talking about when they're like in the at the farm or in the city?
Um, a little bit of both. I mean, definitely out in the farm. It was so beautiful, lush and green and whatnot. It looked really nice. It was like it didn't seem like the it didn't seem like Texas.
I've never
Um,
been to Texas, so I'm not quite sure like exactly. I think of Texas as being like desert, but it's
yeah.
not. Yeah.
Um, the beginning of the movie has the sheriff rolling out to the house, and he gets out of the house, and he's met by a deputy. And as he's walking toward the house, he notices Pearl or a dead body there. Um, as we already, you know, have suspicions about that, you know, and he gets down there and looks, and because we can see the top of the head in the driveway. This is the beginning of the movie. It does not pull any punches. They walk inside the house, and we see a trail of thick blood from the dead body all the way up into the house, going into the house, an axe. It just looked like a charnel house. What was your first impression of the first scene when the sheriff showed up? I mean,
Um, I liked it, man. I thought it was an interesting way to start it. You know, you start with the sort of just the image of the aftermath, uh, and you know how this, you know where the story's going to end up, but then when you're watching it, you don't exactly know how it's going to end up there. And for me, it was kind of surprising how it all sort of unfolded. You know what I mean? Like, I'd say for like the first solid hour of it, there's not really, there's some like unsettling parts between the sound design and like the camera work and a few of the interactions, but like there's no horror really until you get into that third act. Um,
no, you're right. I mean,
which
that's
I like it, you know. I mean, because as you're watching it, you're like, okay, you know, you don't exactly see a direct path to that big a massacre, you know.
no, because you know you're thinking to yourself. When I saw that, I was a little bit surprised when they you know they show the sheriff going in, they show the house a little bit, and then they go down to the basement and they see what they see, and then you know it's like holy shit. What really surprised me is I expected this to happen over a matter of like a 3-day weekend.
I know this says
What
24 hours
if it's
earlier, right?
24 hours, I'm going like, wow, that's a lot for two old people to kill a whole group of people. That seemed to be a lot of you know, seemed like wow, that's going to take some effort. You know, it did, and I think that's probably the first little misstep for me is like I you know, but then again, I mean, I know some people have called this movie a slasher film, but it's not. It's a murder film, but I wouldn't call it a slasher film.
I mean, you do have a killer picking off people one at a time, right? So
Yeah,
there's elements of
elements.
slasher. I think it's not exactly a clear cut like slasher, like just like, oh, that just fits squarely in that genre. But I could see people saying it's a slasher, and I could be like, yeah, okay, I guess.
Yeah, I saw that and the kills, and I thought they were clever. I thought they were clever. And really modern. It's like modern. I saw that. And like and just a hint, just a, it's like it was clever too. I mean they did. They were thinking outside the box. So I give that to them. Um, uh, so the beginning of the movie takes us back to 24 hours, and we meet the whole gang. We meet Wayne, played by Martin Henderson. Um, he has a good, strong record in horror. He did The Ring. He's done that. He's done some other films as well in the horror genre, so he's there. Then we meet Brittany Snow. Um, Yeah, she because this is a small group of people that they're gonna make a porn film. That's what they're doing. So she comes out. She plays totally against type. Brittany Snow has always been known as a good girl.
Hmm.
Uh, well, her movies. She has done some horror. She did one horror movie that I know about and I review called Hangman. So I know she's dabbled a little bit there.
Is that
But
the found footage one?
no, Hangman is it's sort of like a Saw movie. It's like the guy he's kidnaps people and then he puts you got to play hangman to get clues to save them and whatnot. It had Carl Urban in it and Al Pacino.
There's
Um,
there's another movie called Hangman that's pretty good, found footage about
oh,
this guy who sort of like secretly moves in with the family.
oh no no no. um, but she played against type too. I mean, she's always been played, the good girl and whatnot. And then we see her totally up against type, bleach blonde hair, sassy, and whatnot. And then we meet Maxine, and that's played by Mia Goth. And the it girl right now of horror films, we have Jenna Ortega playing Lorraine. Um, and then King, his well, I just know him as King Cudi. So, and he plays the male talent in the movie. Um, Steals the movie for me. I thought his character. I really that was the one character. I was just like he did. He really did. He really stole the movie for me. I think he gave me the best performance. And I just yeah. But we'll get there. And then RJ, played by Owen Campbell. He's the photographer, and so they're all together, and they're all driving out to this little place to shoot a porn film. Wayne is actually on the tip of the spear, so to speak, because this is set in 1979, and this is right when VHS is starting to come out. And his idea is to make porn movies and put it on a VHS for people. So all those people in the van, like him and Maxine, they're the boyfriend girlfriend, and then Jackson uh, and Bobby Lynn, played by Brittany Snow, they're a couple, and then you have Lorraine and RJ. Um, typical crew for a slasher movie. He has 6 victims, or maybe you have a final boy or a final girl. So it's typical crew, nothing more, nothing less. And but I like the idea that they explored that a little bit about how they all wanted to be rich. And the thing is, they probably would have. They probably would have because Wayne was so ahead of his time, right? He wanted to, and they all want fame, you know. RJ wants to be seen as a avant-garde filmmaker, and the girls and the guys, they want to be famous. They want money, And then Wayne is just, he wants the same thing. What was your first impression of the group? I mean,
the very first impression, I would say like none of the characters felt like throwaways. Like there was good character development through all of them. They all felt three-dimensional by the time you get into the third act. I think when we first meet Mia Goth's character, there's like a strong Dirk Diggler sort of pep talk going on in the mirror.
yeah.
And I mean, yeah, I thought they had an interesting dynamic. You had like there was sort of like I don't know, almost like I think I'm thinking back to the scene at like the gas station where he's filling it up and she gives like that dude like, oh, if you tilt it up, it'll look like it says dick and filling the thing. And and you just sort of see them like she didn't play like a ditzy blonde, you know what I mean? She played a porn actress or whatever, but like I mean, she felt like it was acting. She demonstrated her acting prowess a little bit later. Yeah, I mean, I thought all the characters were really interesting. There was an interesting dynamic going because you also have Jenny Ortega, who feels a little conflicted about the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, she felt sort of like the odd one out because they are they're going to go there and make a porn film, and she's sort of standoffish. She's just there to help her boyfriend. With the shots. It's almost like I'm here, but I'm almost here. She's almost just there for the money, so to speak. She's not really enthused at all. About it. She's just like laying back and just like sort of like with a puzzled look on her face, like, what am I doing here?
one of the things I liked about this movie, now I'm just thinking about the sort of dynamic between the characters and stuff. There's things that Ty West put in the film that didn't need to be there to push the story on. So like they feel almost unnecessary, but they add so much to the film overall. Like the tension between Jenny Ortega and the dude, you know what I mean? And like there's weird stuff, like there's a whole musical song interlude in the middle. It's just like you didn't need to do that, but overall it totally worked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it's like, I mean, for one thing, I would definitely say this movie could have been cut just a little bit. He could have lost 20 minutes of it and still kept this potency.
Yeah,
He could have, but
but
I'm
he
glad.
didn't have to.
But I'm glad he didn't.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He could have, but I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad he kept it, and he put it. He did put a one musical interlude in, which I really thought was really a sweet moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought the gas station scene was interesting. They all have fun. I mean, they all liked each other. Even though Bobby Lynn was sort of she was definitely a interesting character. So they all get back in the car and they roll out to the place where they're going to do the shoot. And they roll up there in the van, and they and Wayne gets out and tells the other guys just that this is a chill. And then he walks up to the door to let the people know that they're there. And you mentioned this earlier, but he got a little bit of an unwelcome surprise. After knocking on the door a couple of times, he meets Howard, and that almost didn't go off too well. Were you surprised by the reaction that he got?
I mean, at that point, like you don't feel like there's any actual danger to him because they're just setting up the movie, you know what I mean? So like I never felt like he was really in danger, you know what I mean? I felt like it's sort of like a character building dynamic thing going on, but like I think it's just sort of like it's something that's thrown in to sort of just add a little unpredictability to the sort of dynamic between the characters. But like I'd never felt like he was actually in danger or anything, you know what I mean?
I think he made a fatal error though when they had the first discussion. Um, he let slip something that I think ended up going against him, um, and I think it ended up costing them later on. The old man, he comes out there with that that shotgun, and he sits there after he has that really tense conversation, and then he puts it down after he realizes that this is the guy who he talked to and rented out his barn to, or his house to, his outhouse. Um, he says, well, the gun's not even loaded. And then the other guy, Wayne mentions that, you can't be too careful. It's why I carry one in my van.
Yep.
And as soon as I heard that, I'm like, okay, that's not a good thing to admit to anybody. Don't tell anybody what you have. And I just felt like, well, that's going to come into play later on. And so I mean, it seemed like everybody got along okay. It didn't really, you know, as far as that goes. The crew, gather all their supplies and hike down to the house. But really confused me was there was a walkway down, there was a driveway down to that house. Why didn't they put the van there? They left the van all the way up at the house, and they all walked all the way down where they could have just drove down there. And that was an interesting choice, I thought.
I didn't really think too much about it. I didn't notice the driveway. Well, it was like, I guess it was like a circular driveway, right? Sort of.
Yeah.
I didn't really think about it. I felt like they just, stopped there in front of the house, and then the dude came out and started walking, and so everyone else just sort of went with him. I didn't really, I guess,
Everybody saying hello to everybody. Sean Blue Digi in the house. Charles Cochran's here. Hey, Charles. Let's see. Who else did I miss here? Did I miss anybody? Oh, there's some guy named Cadaver Club in here.
Oh, what a weirdo.
Watch out for that guy. Hey, Anthony, how are you? I'm glad you got your copy of X. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, okay. They settle in. They go in there, and I thought Wayne was a really interesting character in the fact that he was such a dynamic, and they were all nice people.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. That's one thing Ty West mentioned. He mentions that they're all nice people. They really are. They really were. They were really nice people. None of them were. There wasn't an asshole in the group or anything.
I would say all of the characters did something to demonstrate that they were nice people, except Mia Goth didn't really. You know what I mean?
Yeah. She was sort of that was interesting because of her drug abuse. She was pretty much snorting throughout the whole damn movie. That made me laugh, and doing the Dirk Diggler speeches. But
I guess they did sort of show her sort of being kind to the old lady, and the fact that she like was humoring her, like, okay, let's I'll take some lemonade, and then like, oh yeah, look, that's a cool picture. She didn't like want to offend her, so I guess that sort of classifies as being nice.
Yeah. And then of course, but this is something I didn't really expect this. I knew the subject matter or whatnot, but I was not expecting, because they got into making this movie, and I knew that that's what they were going to do, but I thought it's not going to be it's not going to be graphic. It's not going to be a graphic scene, because the actress is playing her is a mainstream actress, and she's got she's up to that point, she's always got a reputation as being she always plays the nice girls roles. And so it was a bit of a surprise. And, obviously there's, the typecasting, going playing against type. So they do a porn scene. They're doing a graphic sex scene. And I have to admit, I was sitting there going like, I was not expecting Brittany Snow to, show it all as she did. But that was Ty West. He says, I'm trying to make these folks go against what they normally do. They're playing against type. It's going to stretch them out. It's going to be a challenge for them. And I liked it. I thought it was good for her. It was cool. It was like, okay, we're seeing her play a whole different character we never see.
I I would not really. I didn't know her before I saw the movie.
Oh, she's done a lot of like rom-coms. She did the Pitch Perfect movies, all three of them.
I gotta say, I don't watch a lot of romantic comedies.
Oh, okay. Well, you got to watch Pitch Perfect at least. Pitch Perfect is a really cute trilogy. Um, all right, Ben Grimm. That is not always true, sir.
It's usually true.
There's Ben Grimm. He's already coming in there. It's A24, so of course it's good.
It's usually
true. It was all right.
It was good. You can admit that it was good, Patrick. You can admit it's good and still feel like it was overhyped.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I mean, like I said, the cinematography was just absolutely drop dead gorgeous. So they go ahead and they start shooting the film, and we see, and then we see as they're doing that, Maxine takes a walk. You want to take us through Maxine's walk while they're filming their first scene?
Yeah, when she goes down to the swamp area. I don't know. Was that a swamp or like a little lake? I don't know.
Little pond.
She just basically it's just like going on a stroll, checking some stuff out. Yeah, she goes to the little dock on the little pond. And I thought that was some pretty good tension. She goes for a little skinny dip, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see the gator sort of in there. I personally didn't even know that Texas had gators, but but I thought it was really well done. The sort of like how they show that the aerial view of her swimming, and you see the alligator behind her, and the sort of the way they cut between it, you see him keep getting closer, and then she gets on the dock as it looks like the alligator is really close. And then she gets up with no, issues, right?
I thought he showed restraint in that scene, in the fact that he could have, showed the alligator breaking the water and scaring her, like oh my god, I just, by the skin of my life, I just escaped that. But he didn't, it was almost like she's swimming, and then instead of the gator coming up there and missing, it was just like he just peeled away, and she never knew that it was how close she had come. And I really liked the idea they held that back, instead of going for the almost like a jump scare. And I respected that. I said, okay, all right, we know there's alligators in there. That's interesting. We'll probably, that's probably going to come into play later. And but I really like the scene. And I thought Mia Goth really did a nice job as Lorraine. I mean, she did a lot of she's really small, she's real petite as it is. And I just, I like the nativity she showed, even for someone who's so, she feels more comfortable probably in an urban world, but out in the rural area, she's not so, she may, like you don't go in the water unknown water by yourself. For one thing, that was like, okay, especially down in Texas. You don't do that.
I would do that, if somewhere around California.
Yeah, California, yes, but Texas, no.
I mean, I don't know shit about Texas.
Yeah, they have they have alligators. The rivers, they have bull sharks. Yeah, Texas. Texas is like a mini Australia. There's a lot of ways to die. Hi, Cass. How are you? All right. That's awesome. So many people are here. I want to say thank you guys all for coming in and supporting the show tonight. I really do appreciate it. We had a bit of a bump, but leave it to an IFC guy to come in and save my bacon. That's right. Well, until Megalon was starting to fuck with you. So
I fucked Megalon up, dude. I got that guy.
Yeah, he popped him in the fly sack. So she walks back. Wayne's there. She sees, he sees her coming in, and it's like it's time for her to work. And then there, as she's coming back, and then we see Jenny Ortega's character, and she's starting to, she's looking at the scene, and she's not saying anything, She really doesn't speak anything. In fact, when she does talk, they call her church mouse, like the church mouse does talk. Um, but but then we noticed we started noticing the elderly couple. We're starting to see that there's a, you know, because we already seen uh, that Maxine has already seen the older lady. She's already seen Pearl
in
on
the
the second story, and you know, and then later on we see Pearl and Lorraine. You know, on the, you know, she Lorraine's on the at the house, and then or Maxine's on the house, and then Pearl's on her house, and they wave at each other, you know, like a little furtively. And so that was our first impression of Pearl. You know, that was our first scene of Pearl. What was your first reaction when you saw Pearl and her demeanor?
Well, first off, I didn't really notice that it was Mia Goth was playing both characters until like sort of the end of the movie. So, and I didn't know that. I didn't go into the movie knowing that. So that was interesting. But then I I I like stories that play out in a way that are just like little unnerving things happen, you know, that don't by themselves aren't like a strong indicator of like trouble, but um, just those little weird things like her sort of like trying to touch her midriff and saying like this will be our secret. Just weird little things like that. I like when that happens in a movie. Just sort of like puts you sort of off a little, you know.
Right.
So
Um,
I thought that that dynamic between them was interesting, you know.
I agree. Um, it's getting dark. It's getting dark, and now we go back. I mean, this movie is for the first hour. It's just nothing but talk.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a typical horror movie. You know, the first hour goes without really nothing going on, and then they jam the last third of the movie with everything.
But I
And
feel like that's not really typical for horror. Horror
oh,
usually there's like horror elements that happen throughout the movie.
that happens to most of the horror movies I've ever watched. Like I was thinking about watching Friday the 13th. You know, they had actually more activity during the first hour, but for the most part, you know, most of those movies once they get to the last 30 minutes, they throw everything in the kitchen sink into it.
Well,
And
yeah, but I mean throughout I mean there's still like if you look at like say Friday the 13th part 2, there's still people getting killed throughout the film. And then there's the third act that's like, you know, going for the gusto, but uh it's not like most horror movies nothing happens for the first hour and
uh,
nothing horror happens for the first hour.
you know, let me ask you this, because there was a lot of character development in the first hour.
Yeah.
Uh, there really was. I mean, you know, I thought it was really funny is when the scene where Bobby Lynn truly shows her range. You know, the scene where you know, like they're talking about how you know, Lorraine's giving Jackson the eye, and then, you know, it's okay, you know, because, you know, I know you like me, and you know, it's all right that you do. And then you know, he says that to Brandy, you know, Brandy Lynn, I know you like me, you know, and Bobby Lynn says, well, I'm an actress. And then Jackson goes, yeah, you're an actress, but you're not that good. And then and then Bobby Lynn shows him how good she really is. I thought that was hilarious, man. He got sort of deflated right there.
But he didn't really because they sort of like he goes, I think I love you, you know. Yeah.
Because, you know, I mean, she's a really good actress, you know, because he thought that, yeah, you know, she's loving me for, you know, I'm taking care of her and all that. And then she says, you know, it's just a job for her. And I thought the one part where she was trying to be sassy to Lorraine, and then RJ whips up the camera and catches her, you know, breaking character. Like she's just, her face is, she has a resting bitch face, you know, for a split second. Then she has to get back into the character. I thought that was, I was like, okay, that's interesting. Um, and you know, everything seemed really copacetic until, I mean, were you shocked to see what Lorraine wanted? You know, after sitting there for all those hours and sitting there and talking to RJ and everybody else, you know, questioning, you know, how could you have sex, and you know, how can you have sex with another person and still be in love with them? I mean,
To me, I felt like she went in with a pretty open mind. You know what I mean? Like she didn't, she sort of like viewed it as smut and everything. Like she didn't really, and I think still, you know, even throughout the movie, like I don't think anyone quite viewed it as the high art that the camera dude, you know, the director felt like it was. Um, but I think she went in, you know, and was like going to support her boyfriend and you know hold the boom mic and all that shit. Um, and I think you know she saw like I don't know, just like it's like anything, you know, when you're exposed to like a situation, you know, that you've never been in, you know, like if you like, let's say you hang out, let's say you don't have any tattoos, but you go spend like a week hanging out in a tattoo shop, you're going to see everyone getting tattoos and you're going to be like, oh, you know, that's cool. I should probably, you know, I wouldn't mind getting a tattoo.
yeah, I can see that. I thought the part that really got me a little, it was interesting. It was like, you know, because they're doing, you know, Maxine and Bobby Lynn were the two main actresses, and where Bobby Lynn was 100% fake, but Maxine was not. I mean, when she was doing her scene, she looked like she was in the moment, and you know,
I still am not convinced that the what was the blonde chick's name?
Bobby Lynn.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that she didn't enjoy herself just because she can fake an orgasm. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it didn't feel like it was just a job. You know, I didn't get that same feeling like you got, like, oh, let's just clock in, fuck this dude, and like, oh,
Well, I think she was there for fun too. I mean,
yeah.
she wanted a good time. It was just sort of weird watching, you know, because you know Maxine came in and she did her scene, and it seemed so much more into the moment.
Well, she had that X factor, dude.
That's right. That's right. Uh, and I thought if anything that would spark off a conflict among the characters, it was going to be that scene right there. Because I'm thinking, okay, if I'm sitting there and I'm Wayne. I know what I'm saying. You know, I know what I've said about. Yeah, you could be in love and not, and you could do your job and still not be in love with somebody. You could have sex with somebody but not, be in love. And I was thinking, okay, well, she looks like she's having a lot more fun than anybody has a right to. And so at first you think that that's going to be the first conflict, where they're going to probably have some conflict, but that's not where it came from. It came from the least likely source, and that was Lorraine. That caught me by surprise.
I mean, I wasn't expecting it per se.
No.
But I didn't think I got the feeling like what was Maxine's boyfriend's name?
Wayne.
Wayne. I got the feeling like Wayne genuinely felt like okay with her sort of, whatever, I think like a lot of people do who date like strippers or sex work, like, porn actresses or whatever. I mean, I think a lot of people are just like, yeah, that's just work, whatever. And they don't treat it the same way like, someone else would.
Yeah, because I mean, because it blew him away. It blew RJ away, and it just it shocked him, and he's sitting there going, like, she goes, I want to do a scene, and everybody else is gung ho for it except for RJ, and he's like, hell no, you're my girlfriend, you're not doing that.
Well, that sort of exposed him kind of as the biggest hypocrite of the bunch, right?
Yeah.
But still, he was like a genuine enough person, like that. When you see like his sort of that he was really upset about it, you know what I mean? Like you don't hate him, even though he's kind of a pompous ass, talking about, oh, we're going to make a great dirty movie, you know what I mean? Like it's going to be high art. He's kind of like a dickhead throughout the whole film, but you still don't hate him per se.
No. I mean, he's sort of funny. He's like he's a man out of time. That the time where porn films were seen as avant-garde or as credible movies, that happened 10 years before 79. Back in the early 70s.
When did Deep Throat come out?
I think Deep Throat came out in 72 or 73.
Okay, I have no idea, but
and then then back then porn was actually morally accepted. That was a very small window, but there was times where people would get up and go to see an adult film, but that and movies were basically movies with just sex in them. If you took away the sex, you wouldn't know. There could be a drama on TV. That's their stories and everything. But he was a man out of time, because that period of that kind of filmmaking was over with, and he was just chasing something, that an idea more than a reality.
I mean,
Um,
he struck me like he struck me as a guy who was like a film student, you know what I mean? Who sort of uh doesn't really know his limitations yet, and just has like he hasn't really settled down in his craft yet. He's a guy who's like, oh, I've got such great vision. He's sort of like, just like, I don't know if I've known a lot of art students when they first get into school versus like when they're done with school. I mean, they sort of get a little more grounded through all the critiquing and everything, and um, and so I sort of felt like that way with him. Like he was kind of like up his own ass, but just because he hadn't learned to not be yet. You know what I mean?
well, it's funny because after Wayne took him outside to talk to him, and
Yeah,
then he said that one line. He goes, I've been 23, but you haven't been 42 yet.
yeah.
So let me tell you. And he's very, he's actually very caring and very kind. He's very compassionate to RJ, and then RJ's a little bit flustered, and he says something, basically, Lorraine's much higher than Maxine and Bobby Lynn, and then Wayne steps to him and he says, "Excuse me," it's like, and he goes, "Let me tell you, she's wanted to do this for a while. You just didn't see it. You didn't want to see it." And so he has to go back inside there, and he has to videotape his girlfriend having sex with Jackson. And the thing about it is, though, if you really think about it, what the mind blower is that she's not an actress. She's not an actress. What she was doing with Jackson was the real thing, and so her reaction would actually be real, and
But
that would be a mind blower for him. I'm thinking,
I
and I
mean,
think that's one of the reasons why he was crying in the shower.
well, I think, well, first off, like the difference between an actor and a non-actor is doing something in front of a camera, really, right? I mean, like at that point, she's an actress. It's not like the other two went to Juilliard for like, being
But
a.
they had experience. They had experience, so they could get it. They would know what to do, how to do it.
I mean,
Um,
it's fucking though.
it's it's
Everyone
it's
knows how to fuck. It's like,
well, it's porn sex is a lot different from real sex.
I mean,
Um,
maybe. I mean, this setting is different, but like even when he's holding the camera, and he's like, oh, slow it down. I want to really see the emotion. He's like, dude, why don't you just hold your camera and let me fuck the way I fuck? Because I'm an expert in fucking. So I mean, it's just like, I don't know.
I just thought that I thought it was one of the reasons that the reason why that he was he did keep it, he had to hold this camera steady, and then I think that's what happened. I think that he saw her having basically making love. That's what they were doing, and then he had to watch that, he had to film it, and I think that was just overwhelmed him, and he went to the shower and he cried. He's just broken hearted because it's fucked up. And
I think he was hurt that she did that, because they were in a relationship and stuff. But at the same time, I got the feeling like his reaction was that plus feeling humiliated and cuckolded. You know what I mean? Like it was a whole bunch of stuff. And then sort of like, I feel like he had realizations about himself too, because he was like, earlier in the movie, he's like, it's just, what, it's just a sex movie. Why are you such a prude to her? And then it turns out he was the prude, and like,
yeah, she called him out on that. She
yeah,
called him out like, when did you Charles, you asked about know by experience. So when I was doing live music back in California, I did get to know quite a few performers in the business. So yeah, I knew quite a few, and they did talk to me. So there's a lot of things I did pick up from that. It's funny because I never watch it. I never watched it, but I got to meet some of the players into it. So it's weird. It was like it was weird booking booking Nina Hartley, and then have her come up there and asking you, well, which of my movies do you like the best? And you go like, I've never seen not a single one of your movies.
Boogie Nights, man.
Oh yeah, that's the only one I saw. That's the one I saw. I did see Boogie Nights, and I said that it's because it was rated R, and I said I saw you in Boogie Nights. That's and I saw you on I saw you give lectures.
I mean, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, so like, of course, I saw tons of Nina Hartley, but I couldn't name a single movie because by the time, by the time like that era came around, it was just like if you got like a tape, like you went to the liquor store to buy like a porn tape or something, it was just compilations of different scenes. Like, there's no actual movies. You know?
Yeah. So I mean, there's, I like I said, I've met a few, and oh, just in time for Ricky to come in and hear that. Now I'll never live this down. Thanks to Rick, I'll never hear the end of this. Yeah.
I've
So
done exhaustive research though. I haven't really met many porn actresses, but I've done tons of research.
no, I've met a few porn actresses and directors and actors and whatnot. So I can tell you pretty much all except for one. They're all very nice people. Very nice people. Very very nice. There's like you always in every profession you always get one asshole,
Yeah.
and yeah. So yeah, Debbie does dishes. Yeah, Debbie does dishwashers now. Yeah, so I want to circle back because there was one moment which I really thought that gave because we're talking about how these actors are playing against type, especially Brittany Snow and now and they had the musical scene where she sang Landslide. I thought that was probably my singular favorite moment of the movie, where she just sat there and sang. I thought that was really nice that Ty West let her do that because that's what she's known for. Sort of like in Pitch Perfect, she's part of a choir. She has a really nice voice. And
I thought that was really an interesting little interlude. Uh,
mhm.
like sometimes um, you'll see something in a movie that feels indulgent, like almost anything in the movie Suspiria remake, where it's a little off-putting, like, oh God, like, why just get over yourself and edit some of this shit out, you sick fuck. But um I thought it was really nice. It worked really well. You had them sort of all huddled around, sort of like, like a not an actual campfire, but that type of environment. And they're all just
Mhm.
listening to him play guitar and her sing. And then there's sort of like a montage, right? Of what's the old lady's name?
Pearl.
Pearl. Oh, obviously, yeah. Pearl sort of getting all dolled up, right?
Hmm.
Um, I thought it worked really well.
I did too. And you think it'd be indulgent and a throwaway moment, but it really wasn't. And I
No,
think it was smart to show that. It's just instead of just sitting there focusing on them, it was smart to have intercut Pearl getting ready because it showed a little bit more of the development of her. Because she had when Maxine was having sex with Jackson, Pearl had come down and was looking through the window, and Maxine sensed that and turned into it and saw her there and still doing her scene. So that was that was the first time Pearl had come down to the farmhouse, and then of course that was when they found out really what they were doing because Howard and Pearl did not know what Wayne was doing. He didn't know. He even said this: "I didn't know you're bringing your whole crew with you. I thought it was just going to be you. I didn't expect you to see all six of you here." Um, so RJ, after he gets pep talked by Wayne, and things seems to be settled down, but then he dashes in there. Then later on we see him having this little breakdown in the shower, and then he gets out and he walks to the van and he's basically saying, well, fuck this, I'm out of here. They could, they can't make this movie without me. And I don't have to sit here and watch this. So he dashes out to the van to drive away. And I couldn't understand this part. This part was a little bit loopy for me. And that, he gets in there, he starts the van up, and Pearl's standing in front of him.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, she's standing in front of you. Well, why don't you just back up and go around her?
Well, I think he's a nice person. He sees like an elderly lady just sort of standing there in the middle of the night. He's concerned about her. So he goes over and he's like, "Are you okay?" Like, I don't think he was just like, "Fuck this old lady." Like he was, a decent person.
Yeah, it just didn't ring a little bit for me. For some reason, I'm thinking if this guy's as pissed off and hurt and pissed and whatever, he's not going to be sitting around wanting to talk he just wants to go. He wants to go. To me, I'm just thinking, bam, I'm upset and I'm pissed off. Plus, I'm leaving in the van. I'm leaving all these people behind. I don't want them hearing me what I'm doing. I don't want them running out and catching me. I want to get out of there as fast as possible.
She was standing directly in front of the gate, so like he could have like probably finagled some way around her, but she was definitely in his path of travel. Like he kind of had to address it.
But you're right. They continue the nice guy, and I thought that was I thought that was fine. As pissed off as he really was, he still retained his decency, and he got out. And a lot of horror movies, they work really hard at making you either the characters be paper thin or unlikable. So like when they do get attacked or they do get killed, that's why a lot of people root for the killer, root for go Jason, go Michael, right? But this movie flipped that on his head. Everybody in this movie was likable. Everybody in this other six friends, they were likable.
Yeah.
And RJ was a really nice person, like you just mentioned. He got out of the van, he walked over her, he was going to guide her out of the way. And, and you're right. When she went to hug him, she hugged him, he let her do that. He patted her on the back. He was, it wasn't until that she started getting a little aggressive that, like she started taking off her top that he's like, nah, it's a little bit outside my comfort range, she's old. And so she confuses that his stepping back and refusing that. It wasn't a rejection of her. It was just his decency toward her. You're 70 years old, 75 years old. It's not decent. It's nothing that's you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. Two, you don't know what her mental state is, and and that's not who he was. He wasn't going to sit there and grope up on a 75-year-old grandmother. And so, but she felt like she confused his decency with rejection. And when she stabbed him, it was really, it was like, wow, that's fucked up.
The way it sort of went, just the actual way that the act went down too, where it was sort of like almost slow, and like not really violent, just like, like it's a kind of just, it felt a little more real, than if it was like loud, like, musical stab and it's just like, rah, 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 it was just more like she just sticks it in and he's like shocked and like,
Yeah, she hit him with a fatal shot the first time. It's like she knew that she's only gonna get one chance at this, and she just slid in and cut his carotid. And
yeah. I mean, she didn't just like slit his throat, I mean, she stabbed that vein, right?
Yeah, she cut the vein. I mean, he dropped right away. I mean, it wasn't like he grabbed it and fell back or like, and he sliced. She killed him.
I mean, he did grab it and walk back, and then he falls over, and then he's still like alive, and then she takes it and she does the other side, and then she just like connects the dots.
Yeah, yeah. He connected dots. No, yeah. Four diagonally. Uh, what's that? What was that game? The Connect Four. Yeah, yeah. Four steps diagonally. All right. So yeah, and I couldn't understand that. What's really interesting was the fact that, okay, she killed, she stabs him. It's like, whoa, that's fucked up. And then he goes to town, you know, she goes to town with on him, and then it was just like, wow, that's this thing like overkill. It's like, it wasn't, I can understand if he was rude to her or something like that, and like, well, fuck you too, but he was nice to her, and it just seemed more like it seemed more that she was just frustrated, if anything else.
I mean, I would classify her as not the most stable person. So like throughout the movie we get like more creeped out by her, which is really like interesting because it's really just her sexuality as an old person where you're like, it's just creepy as fuck for some reason, even though maybe it shouldn't be. But I mean, we also know at that, no, I guess we don't know at that point. I was going to say that wasn't the point. Jenny hadn't gone down into the basement yet, or Jenny Ortega hadn't gone down into the basement yet, so he was like the first victim, I guess. But we're already off put. We know that like she's a weird motherfucker. Going into it, we see her stab him, and then to me, it's just like that sort of rush that. To me, it felt like the rush that you might get from a sexual encounter was the same for her in the first stab, and then she just really got like excited about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because she didn't. Her face wasn't her. You're right, because her face wasn't the typical angry look. It's like it wasn't like she was like, she wasn't like the stab wasn't like. It did seem more sexual than it did angry.
Especially like the way she sort of like mounted him too, right?
Right. And so, I mean, it was just, it's just, yeah. So he's the first one of the six to die. And so, so that happens, and then Lorraine wakes up, and she rolls over, and her boyfriend's not there, and she stands up, and now she's concerned because he's gone, and she goes outside, she looks around, and then Wayne comes out, and he's like, he's gone, where is he? And Wayne's like, hey, relax, he's probably clearing his head, don't worry about it, come back inside, he'll be fine. And then she settles down, but then she says, well, can you help me look for him? And again, it goes down to the point where how nice these people were. It's not overemphasized enough how, because normally the normal reaction you would have got was, I'm not going to be trampesing in the middle of the woods at late at night looking for a boyfriend who's feeling sorry for himself. But he says, you know what? No, I'll help you. I'll let me go ahead and get my pants on. And so he comes on out, and
I didn't even think he put pants on, dude. I think he went out there in that. Did he go
out there with his skivvies? Yeah, he might have went out with skivvies.
I think it was in his skivvies. It was a fancy outfit.
Have a great night, Cass. Thank you for stopping by. Everybody's saying Sean's leaving for Game of Thrones.
Have a good night, dude.
Hey, Nate. It's the NDT show. All right. I haven't seen Nate around for a while. Glad you're here, Nate. That's awesome. Man, I haven't seen Nate in a minute. So now they're out there looking for RJ. You would have thought they would have stayed together in unknown territory. You would have thought, and you would have thought that Wayne would have put on shoes.
Yeah, maybe, but he just went out to talk to her in the skivvies. He didn't go back in to do anything. He was just like, oh shit, okay, he's missing. Well, maybe he's in the barn. I'll go check the barn real quick. It's not. And she was just like, walking around. I didn't really, I don't know about you, but like if just in the, I'm not like a scared person, or like I don't expect anyone to murder me just at any minute. So like, I mean, like I'd go if someone was missing, I'd go walk around like an area and look for them by myself without thinking I was going to get murdered. But that's just me.
Right, right. So they split up. Jenny heads to, Lorraine heads to the house, and Wayne heads to the bar. Heads to the barn. Um, what was your impression about that? I mean, did you think they should? I mean, were you surprised to see the choices they made? I would have thought that Wayne would have went to the house first because he had already had, he knew Howard. He'd already talked to Howard. I would have thought that he would have went first, and
But
then
she didn't really go to the house first. She was just sort of walking around. He's like, and she saw the dude, and he's like, hey, uh, I mean, I felt, I didn't get the feeling like she went over there by herself or anything. She was just like walking around looking for him, and saw the husband.
and the light came on, the motion detector,
Yeah,
and then the light came out, and the Howard came out, and then we find out that he's looking for his wife,
right.
and so at that time you're thinking, oh boy, does he know what's going on? Does he know what his wife's doing? I mean, I'm sure, like, to me, I always felt like, like, did he keep her in the house? Because he didn't introduce them when they all showed up. We didn't see Pearl till after they had moved. They had moved in, and there was no formal introduction. Like, oh yeah, this is my wife, Pearl.
Yeah.
So you always got the impression that maybe she escaped. She escaped and she'd gotten out, and then now that he's protecting her, but the Pandora box is open. Um, so he says my wife's missing. We'll start looking for them together. They go inside the house. Then Howard mentions to her to get into the flashlight and head down in the basement. That to me, though, that was a warning bell. That was a warning bell. I would never have done that.
Well, to you, you're watching a horror movie, but to her, he's just some old dude looking for his wife. He needs a flashlight. He's old to get down the stairs, right?
No, that's just common sense. I mean, if I go to your house and you say, "Oh yeah, by the way, I don't know who you are." Oh yeah, go down to my basement. Nah, you know what? I'll tell you what. I'm up here. You go down to your basement. I'll wait for you up here. I'm not going anywhere where I've never been before. And that's just me.
Right.
But I'm thinking, that's yeah. Remind me to tell you about the library guy. There's a guy at the library. I'll tell you about him. Um, so and you're right. She's trusting. She's like, she sees an old man.
Yeah.
I think that's his edge, is that they're elderly. No one thinks about them as being more than that. It's just an old man. So yeah, could you go down to the basement and find the other light? Okay, no problem. So she trapezes down there, to get the light, and and she finds it. And as she climbs up for it, then we go back to the barn, and this is the only part of the whole movie where I thought the writing was the weakest, because it was all cliches. Like, RJ, is that you? It's like, is that you, buddy? It's like, of course, if they would have had one of these, it would have never happened. So yeah, so that was the only part of the movie I thought was the weakest part, was he was in there, and he was doing all the horror movie cliches about here's a noise. Is that you, RJ? Where are you, buddy? And of course not. RJ would have been, hey, I'm here. What's going on? And then he starts walking, and I thought the trap that they laid for him was, I don't know if they deliberately did that, because you didn't see, like, I expected to see a hand, like a hand shoot out and put that board there, because that was the most coincidental shot. Like, who would have ever thought that he would have stepped on the board? But it was perfect. But who would have ever thought that he would have stepped on it? Was that deliberate, or was that just an accident?
I don't think it was deliberate. I think it was just
An accident?
Yeah.
What? Okay. So he steps on the board, and yeah, that was painful looking.
Yeah.
Went straight that was that was that made me sort of squeamish, because it was like, oh shit, it's like ouch. Um, so he sits down and he has to get that board off his foot, and he's calling for RJ, and I'm thinking, well, obviously RJ's not there, because if he would have came and helped you. Um, like especially new stepping on a board with a nail in it, he would have came and helped you out. But he's dead, so that's the reason why he didn't. So he pops the nail out, and then it was the most interesting. I don't know. This is probably the most interesting. I don't know about how you feel about it, but it was the most interesting kill of the movie.
It was interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's funny because we just finished our Fulci throwback. We did our the trilogy of death, and then when we see Wayne go through the he's sitting there and he's looking through the holes, and the first thing I thought was the zombie, the Fulci zombies, where that girl has that would go in her eye. And I was sitting there like, okay, so he's gonna get stabbed in the eye, and sure enough, I was like, oh, that was expected, but still shocking. I mean, you just didn't expect that. And then, what did you think of that scene? I mean, what was your impression about it?
I thought it was weird that there was 3 holes in the side of the fucking wall. I don't know much about barns, so for me, that's what the most interesting thing I thought was like, what the fuck are those 3 holes about, that perfectly fit a pitchfork,
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was kind of weird. But you saw it coming on. Yeah, I mean, Fulci loves that eye trauma shit, dude.
Yes, he does.
So it definitely could have been an homage to him. But I liked it. Just to give you a heads up, by the way, dude, I only got about 12 more minutes before I got to get running. So.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yep. All right. Um. So. So then. Wow. Okay. Okay. Well, I tell you what. Let's. I tell you what. I'll cover the end of it, but I'm going to go ahead and get your closing thoughts about it. I mean, your overall thoughts. What did you think of the movie overall? And are you excited for Pearl? And how do you see this trilogy ending?
Is it going to be a trilogy?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that. I liked X a lot. I thought it was excellent. I thought it was shot really well. It had like it felt, I mean, like Ty West did that same thing with House of the Devil, where he just sort of nailed like an era of filmmaking, and it feels like it's of that era. So I liked it a lot. I thought Pearl was probably more compelling in this than she will be in her, little solo movie, just because to me, one of the things that was really interesting was the sexuality of the older people being like really unsettling and sort of playing sort of like into that general atmosphere. Because it's just, it shouldn't necessarily be any more disturbing than like, when homeboy is having sex with his actress girl on camera earlier, but it is when they're showing the old couple fucking, it's just like, oh yeah, like.
Yeah, it's almost like it's our society's taboo. They just don't, they don't see people that age, even though they're married, as having sex still. They see it's like, is there a cutoff date? I mean, like, what, do you turn 72 and you collect Social Security and your sex drive dies? I mean, it varies. It's as long as you can get frisky, I mean, you can have sex, as long as, whatever age you're in. I mean, if you're healthy enough. Now, a lot of people sitting there thinking about their grandma and grandpa doing it, and they go, ooh. But the fact of the matter is, they can do it. They can have sex. I mean, it may not be as pretty as, as watching Brittany Snow do it, but it still happens, in real life. When kids get old enough, like when we get old enough to understand what sex is, And then we look at our parents and start thinking about that, and it blows a lot of people's minds. It's like, ooh, my parents still do that shit. That's why that's why it's always portrayed in TV and movies. Like, when they show the mom and the dad, feeling feeling loving toward each other, the kids are going like, ooh, because it's like, what? Do you think just because they're 40 or 45 that means that they're done? So, I don't think he was I don't think Ty made any sort of commentary about that. I think he definitely was commenting on the fact that a lot of people, when they do get older like that, they still need that physical contact. They still need that connection. They do.
I think I think what he did was her whole, like, Pearl's whole character was so stuck in the past and like sort of like so unresolved about how she had aged and like all the stuff that she had lost, and like, I think like her sort of trying to hold on to that, and then also feeling like jealous of Goth's character, who was at the place where she wanted to be, right? Like back in the day.
Yeah.
And she saw her as someone who had like everything that she had, squandered or now misses dearly. And she's still trying to carry on the same way she would have back in her 20s or whatever.
Right. It's like, definitely there's a strong sense of jealousy too.
Yeah.
I mean, that was very front and center in Pearl. Was she was very envious of what she was seeing. It was still arousing to her, but at the same time she was jealous of it because it wasn't happening for her. She approached her husband and said, can you? And her husband's like, oh, I can't because my heart can't take it. Well, you know what? Your heart can take holding her. Your heart can take laying there and holding her, and and doing a cuddle in bed. Maybe
Well,
that's
his heart handled fucking her, just didn't handle the gasp of Jenny Ortega when he was carrying her body inside.
right. So it was. Oh, well, I hope you're feeling all right, Tatum. Yeah. So I mean, what about Pearl? What do you think we'll see? I mean, we saw a little preview real quick about, because we saw the religious programming, and then the priest reveals that is his daughter. His daughter has been out from the church, and now it sounds like he's been praying for her and thinking about her or whatnot, and
but not that wasn't Pearl.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Maxine.
Yeah,
but I don't know how old that religious program was, though.
I mean, I think it was pretty clearly not supposed to be Pearl. It wasn't from the 20s or whenever the fuck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she drives away. She doesn't stick around, so she's driving away. I'm just trying to figure out what they're going to do for the third movie. I can understand the prequel part. That'll be interesting. But I'm trying to, I'm like, okay, that could, I'm sort of bummed out because you're saying, because they're sitting there, well, what's going to happen to this A24's iconic villain? And I'm going like, wow, iconic. She's dead. She died in the first movie. It's like I don't know if that actually qualifies as iconic.
I've never heard anyone call her iconic.
Yeah, that's in one of the press releases, and I'm thinking, I wish they would have I wish they would have killed Howard. They should have killed Howard that way and left the old lady alive for the trilogy. I mean, she didn't necessarily need to do a lot in the trilogy, but she should still be alive in it. I didn't necessarily agree with the choice that he killed her.
I thought that I liked that it felt satisfying that she died.
Oh, of course.
I think they needed that resolution for me personally. So I
guess I already knew they were doing a trilogy, so that's how I was looking at it. I mean, if you didn't know that and you're watching it for a standalone film, yeah, it's totally satisfying. But as knowing that there's going to be a trilogy, you're sitting there going like, yeah, I wish you wouldn't have done that. I wish you would have at least saved it for the third part.
But also, you don't know what the third part is. Maybe it doesn't.
It'll be about Maxine. I'm sure it'll be Maxine, and maybe she rotates into becoming the new Pearl. I mean, it sort of had that little bit of a sense about setting it up a little bit like that. Like because she obviously was starting to crack up toward the end of the movie.
It could also be, the story of her not as an old lady, as or like an elderly, super elderly lady. It could be like the story of that bohemian dude in the basement, for all we know. Who knows? It could be before the events of X, but after the, prequel of Pearl.
You got 4 minutes. Yeah, so don't worry, we're gonna go through the rest of the movie. But Ben's gotta go. Like I said, I was gonna originally have a 4-strong panel, but unfortunately, that didn't work out this time. Ken from Mid Level Media had to work late, and then our other guest, Monty G, his wife had a medical emergency, so he was not able to show. And then Ben was here, but I guess you're going to work at 9:30.
I have like an appointment, a Skype appointment thing I gotta hit.
Okay, not a problem. So so Ben's gonna have to leave us in 5 minutes, but I will go ahead and finish up the movie by myself. I'll tell you, the ending and I'll walk you through the rest of it and give you my thoughts as well. I want to thank you for coming out, Ben, and helping us out.
Yeah,
yeah, that's I like I said, I like this movie. It's definitely I'll give you this. This is X light years better than Hereditary. How about that?
I disagree with that, but I like them both. And
I do not get how you like Hereditary. Just you lose me.
Well, it's not like I'm the weirdo, Patrick. You're the weirdo. You're like the only person who doesn't like her.
Yeah, I got Topi on the line here. Let me go ahead and make a phone call.
Do I got to get my boxing gloves back out? You saw what happened last time.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. I did like it more than I liked Hereditary, so I did. I will say that I like Ty West because, like, I'm a huge fan of the Innkeepers. Innkeepers is an awesome movie.
I love House of the Devil and Sacrament too. Both of those. Really good.
I missed out on the Sacrament. I want to say the Sacrament popped up at a Dollar Tree, and I missed out on it. But I'm going to get it next time I see it. And I do have House of the Devil. So
House of the Devil, yeah, I love he's real good with atmosphere, man.
He really is.
Innkeepers too had great atmosphere.
It definitely does. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and let Ben get out of here so he can get ready for his Skype call, and then we're gonna carry on for a half hour, and then Gory B Movie Show will be on at 10 o'clock. They are doing vampires tonight. Old Dude Vampire is battling for the title of Best Villain, so we're gonna go over there and show our love and support for Team Old Dude Vampire. And then next week, or September 25, we'll see Ben back, and we'll be on David's channel on September 25th for The Wretched, for the ISC Midnights. We're going to be covering the Wretched. I can't wait for that. And then what's even more exciting, it's going to be your turn to pick the next ISC movie. Yeah, you get October.
There's a couple good ones that I could pick. I still got to choose between them.
That's what I
like. Patrick, I got to run.
Yeah. All right. Chat. Peace. All right. So anyway, so we left for the movie, and there will be spoilers, as you already can tell. Hi, Andre. How are you? So and this movie was actually shot, Andre, in New Zealand. Yeah, this movie is actually shot in New Zealand. So Jenny Ortega's character, Lorraine, goes down to the basement, and then she comes up from the basement and she's locked in. Wayne is dead in the barn, and we see Pearl come in and attempting to bury him. But that's good luck with that. So then after that, then Jackson, who is my favorite character in this movie, he's a former Marine, and it seems like he is bonded with Howard. and Howard comes up and he's looking for his wife, and Jackson gets up there and says, I'll help you find her right away, not without a doubt. Says she's lost out here, and he goes, I served 2 tours in Vietnam. Uh, I spent a lot of time, looking for traps and booby traps and all that. Um, so, if she's out here, I'll be able to find her. So we'll split up. We'll split up, and you take this side, I'll take that side. Super nice guy. He's definitely my favorite character in this movie, and the one who, yeah, it sucks. But he goes out there and he starts looking on his side, and then Howard's looking over on his side. And now we know that Howard is like he's complicit in what's going on. We know that he's complicit uh, because he locked Lorraine in the basement. Uh, yep. Yep. We'll see you. You'll see you over at Gory's for sure. I'll be there. I'll be there about 10 o'clock or so. So, so he, Jackson starts exploring, and he's going by the pond. And as he's doing this, Lorraine is down in the basement, and she's turned on the flashlight. She turns on the light. She turns around, and she sees a dead body chained to the wall. Now, initially, when I saw that, I thought was that RJ, but it wasn't. It's somebody else. It's a stranger. Don't know who it is, but he's hanging on the wall. He'd been there for quite a while, and his body's decomposing. Meanwhile, we follow Jackson as he's going down the side of the pond. All of a sudden, he realizes he sees there's cars down in the pond. He sees a Volkswagen. It's been pushed down into the pond, and he's like, "Okay, that's that's very unusual." So he's exploring, and then he starts heading back to where Howard's supposed to be, and he thinks that Howard has fallen. He sees the light. He thinks he's in trouble, so he goes right on over there because he sees Howard's flashlight. So he dashes over there, and it's a flashlight, but Howard's not there. Howard's actually behind him, and he comes in and he surprises him, which is surprising because Jackson would you didn't think that he would be surprised. So he turns around and he says, "You surprised me, Pops," and and then the old man Howard starts letting loose that he's starting to be like he starts commenting about he's starting to put Jackson down, and Jackson goes ahead and starts to leave, and then Howard shoots him. He kills him. He shoots him and kills him with the shotgun, and that was a bummer. I really liked the character. I liked Kid Cudi's performance. I thought he did really, really well with it, and he was the most decent person. I mean, that's one thing that Ty West did really well with his script, is that he portrayed all his characters as really strong characters. They're good human beings. They're not your typical horror films fodder. Like we get a introduction and hi, I'm Josie. Hi, I'm Smitty, but we don't get to really know them at all. We just waiting for them to get to die. Jason come down or Ghostface or Michael the Shape or whatever. But these characters, we actually got to know them a little bit. We got to see them through the first hour of the movie. So we actually got to care for them. And that's really a good sign of a good writer, a good director, is when he makes you care for his characters. Whether you love them or you hate them, as long as you show emotion for them and you're not just waiting for them to die, like a red shirt. You see a red shirt, he dies, you don't feel anything. But you really do feel emotion for these people. They're just caught in a really bad time. They're caught in a really bad space by a couple of people who are who knows why they became as warped as they did. Loneliness, who knows? All I know is that they're killers. So meanwhile, Lorraine is she's trying to get out of the cellar, and she finds an axe, and so she comes out and she starts hacking her way through the door to get out. And this is happening. We see Pearl return, and she comes inside the house where they're all staying, and she slides into bed with Maxine. She slides in the bed with Maxine. Now, this is a really interesting scene because the actress is played by Mia Goth. She's playing both Maxine and Pearl, so it's a really interesting dynamic. And she slides next to her, and she's got bloody hands, and she's touching her. She's like laying there and just caressing her and spooning with her, and she's sleeping, and it's very creepy. Now that part was very, very creepy. So as she does this, um, um, Lorraine is now she got herself she chopped the door open, but she should have chopped it a little bit differently. She left herself too exposed, but she reaches her hands out to undo the lock, and then Howard's back in the house. And he smashes her hands. He bludgeons her hands and he breaks her fingers. And to keep her in there, and she says, "Stay in the house. You got to stay. I told you to stay in there." So she's sitting there, and so she starts crying, she's screaming, she's scared. And then that back of the other house, um, Maxine wakes up, and she discovers that Pearl is here, and it's basically fondling her. And so she screams super loud, and that wakes up Bobby Lynn. So now the only three people left alive of the original six are the three women. The men are all gone. The women are all that's left. So she wakes up. She goes down there, and Maxine said, that old lady was there. She was groping me. She's on my bed. So then Bobby Lynn runs out and to go outside, and no one thinks about the guys. No one's like, okay, where are all the guys at? Where are the men at? They just go on out there to okay, and they what they do, another mistake they made is they divide. Like you don't divide. Stay together. But they get divided, and so Bobby Lynn goes down to the pond because she sees Pearl down there. She's on a dock, and she's real close to the water, and so Bobby Lynn rushes down there like, "Hey, be careful! You can't go down there. That's dangerous." And she's very kind to Pearl, but Pearl is consumed by jealousy at this time. We see this now that she has jealousy, and she says, she basically says, why should you get to have, why should you be able to live the life you're living? Why couldn't I have that? And you're a whore. So she talks down to Bobby Lynn, and Bobby Lynn says, screw this, I'm out of here. This, you can find your own way home. So she goes to get around her, move out of my way, but Pearl pushes her into the water. And what she's been doing down there by the dock, and she's been chumming the water for the alligators. So as soon as Bobby Lynn hits the water, the alligators are ready, and they pounce on her and they kill her. Well, that's down to 2. And so Maxine goes to the house, and she discovers that Lorraine is, she finds Lorraine and gets her out. And by this time, Lorraine is she's scared shitless. She's seen a dead body. She's got a broken hand. And, instead of uniting as one, Lorraine turns around and screams at her that it's all Maxine's fault. She says, everybody, guys, this is all your fault. This whole thing's your fault. It's not true, of course, but that's what she says. It's like, I'm getting out of here. And Maxine tries to tell her not to wait, but she basically runs out the front door, and Howard's out there with his rifle, with his shotgun, and he shoots her. So Lorraine is mortally wounded. So Maxine's hiding in the house. Howard and Pearl are on the front porch, and yeah, she's got to get ready for old Do Vampire. That's right. So anyway, So yeah. So now the last, now Maxine's now our final girl. She's our final girl, and she's sitting there hiding, and she's hearing Howard and Pearl talk about other people they've killed, and they said, I told her to stay in the house in the basement, and then help me get her body in the house. If the cops come, we can say we shot him in self-defense. I mean, they're cunning. Now we see that Howard and more so Howard than from Pearl, but they're very cunning. And so they bring him into the house. They drag Lorraine into the house, but as they're doing that, she has one last gasp, and she moves, and it shocks, it scares, it frightens Howard, and he has a heart attack. So he wasn't lying about his heart being bad. He did have a bad heart, and so Lorraine scares him with her dying breath, and so he collapses and has a heart attack, and he dies. So now we're down to Pearl, and we're down to Maxine, and so they face off. Maxine comes out with the gun, because she's got the gun from the van, and she tells Maxine, "I want your truck. Give me the keys to your truck, or I'm going to shoot you." And uh, uh, and then Pearl, they're doing a face off, and then Pearl goes to shoot her. Um, oh, huh? Nope, no problem. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to figure out, because this is not their first rodeo. They've killed. We don't know how many people they've killed. We know for sure that they killed at least one person, but we're not sure exactly how many other people they've killed, because we never really got a chance to look at the pond. That's a good point, Andre. I mean, once we saw the Volkswagen there, then we realized that this wasn't the first rodeo. They've been doing this for quite a while, luring people into the barn, and then into the guest house, and then killing them. So they have a face off in the house, and then Pearl, Maxine goes to shoot Pearl, but the gun's empty, and so but Pearl grabs the rifle, the shotgun. She takes a shot at Lorraine, or at Maxine, or at, oh Lord, at Lorraine. She takes a shot at oh Lord, I'm really getting confused here. So Pearl takes a shot at Maxine. It's because they're played by the same actress. It's Mia Goth is facing off with each other, and she misses, but the gun recoils and takes Pearl out of the house, where she falls and she breaks her hip. She falls and she breaks her hip. So she barely misses Maxine, but Maxine grabs the keys and she goes out, and she gets, and she gets in the truck. She's getting into the truck, and then Pearl's asking her for help. Help me, because she's falling, she can't get up. And Maxine's not having none of that. She's having none of that. So and as this is happening on the TV inside the house, the TV preacher is talking about his wayward daughter, and he takes a cloth off a picture, and we see it's Maxine. Maxine is this pastor's wayward daughter, and he's been talking about her, trying to, her salvation, and she's lost, she needs to be found, and all that. And we find out that his daughter is actually Maxine. Back in the truck, Maxine gets in the truck, and she says, fuck this shit, and she rolls the truck right over and crushes Pearl. She kills Pearl. She runs over her head. So there won't be any coming back from this. And then she doesn't stay, though, which this is interesting. She doesn't stay. She just gets going, and she drives off. She just drives off, gets into the truck, just goes. Doesn't look back. 5 of her friends are dead. They're gonna find 4 they're gonna find 4 bodies, not 5, because 1 got eaten. But their friends are gonna be all gone. Her friends are all gone. And so she drives off, and she's like, she still wants to be somebody. She still wants to be, famous. She still wants to live a good life, I guess a self-indulgent life. And so she drives off. It's not the usual final girl behavior. In fact, if I do have to say, of all the people that would probably be the least likable, it actually would have been Maxine. Um, of all the people in the crew, um, of all the six, I believe that she was the most unlikable. Yeah, she does. She's a survivor. Is what she is, Andre. Maxine is a survivor. Um, she survived probably a very, closed-minded religious household. Um, you know how that is. We know when there's a family that's too religious, too tight, too gripping. Uh, that's a lot of reasons why. Like even in our Bible Belt here in the United States, we have a Bible Belt, and they preach Christianity. They don't practice it, but they talk about it, and about how you have moral values, family values, and yet those are the people that have the least amount of those values. The ones that they profess to have, they have the least of them because a lot of their kids rebel, because they've been so tightly controlled. You can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do this, and not explaining why, but just that you can't. And so a lot of the kids they break out and they start doing the same behaviors that they've been told they can't do. You can't drink, you can't smoke, you can't fool around in cars. And then that's what happens when they get a chance to do something. They do it because they've always been told no, but never why. And I think that's Maxine's character. That's what she's rebelling against. So she takes off, and then we have the sheriff. Then we go back to where we were at the beginning of the movie, and the sheriff is, they go inside the house, and they're seeing the carnage in the house. The dead person in the basement. Lorraine's in the house. Howard's in the house. They haven't explored any of the other property yet, so we don't know exactly how many people are dead. We know for sure that uh, um, we know for sure 7 people are dead, or 8 people. We know 8 are dead, but we don't know how many more. And I think they might explore that in the sequel. I think that might be, or the prequel. They actually might do that in the prequel to see exactly when did Pearl start killing. Did she start killing as a young woman, or did she start killing when she got older? And was she mentally competent when she was doing it? So these are going to be good questions. And Ty West is a very good film writer, in the sense for that. So I think that we're going to get a lot of answers. We're going to get a lot of answers in Pearl. Pearl's going to be coming out on September 16th at the theaters. I do think that A24 will turn this movie around quick. Um, it might get I might get a 45-day a turnaround after after the theaters go. I know some want 90 days, but it might be only 45 days. So if this movie comes out on September 16th, I think we might be able to get the home release in time for Christmas. Hey Kevin, how are you? That's right. Pearl, the sequel, is going to be very interesting. Now, how many people have actually seen X, and how many people are going to go see X or see Pearl at the theater? I actually am tempted to. I'm actually tempted to see Pearl at the theater. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people there for it. Um, when I mentioned earlier about the hype for Pearl, Pearl was made for $1 million, which is really remarkable because there's a ton of people that worked on this movie. A lot of people worked on this movie. If the budget was only $1 million, Ty West got a value for his movie. And it made about $11 million domestically, and it made another $4 million internationally. So it made about $15 million, which isn't a bad return. It's not a bad return. $1 million for 15, and the word of mouth. I mean, um, yeah, I'm glad you're doing well, Kevin. Thank you for coming out, my friend. Yes, Charles, you're planning on seeing the oh yes, the crawl is new. I figured it out. And if you notice on the right-hand corner, right here, there's a cheetah. So that's new too, the cheetah. Yeah, but I figured out how to do the crawl. I'm starting to get all high tech and all and everything. Yeah, I agree, Andre. I agree. $1 million for $1 million. And the thing is, though, is that A24 is to the point now where they don't necessarily need to spend a lot of money on advertising per se, because a lot of the media and a lot of the people hype up their movies. They give them basically free press. They hype them up so much. It's a new A24 film. Everybody's all over it. Um, Okay, Jim's mentioning he saw X and he liked it, but will probably wait for digital for Pearl. Um, yeah, you know what? I don't. It's gonna be interesting to see how long that movie is. I think that movie there could do. I mean, you cannot do Pearl. You can't do an hour and 45 minutes as you did for X. You can't do that. I don't think it would work. I just don't think it will work. I think if you come in there, do a really lean, mean, 85, 90-minute movie, a typical horror movie run, I think you can tell enough story for it. According to the IMDb, I'm sure there's more, but according to the IMDb, Pearl only has a 5-member cast. So that will probably be really conducive for the script moving faster because there's not that many characters. Like I said, I also think too that Pearl will come out in time for Christmas. So people will be getting that around Christmas. That'll be around December, maybe early January. I don't know. I do know that the part 3 is in development. Um, that means they're going to be going back down to New Zealand and spending another $1 million down there. One would hope so, but I don't know. We don't really know about it. Yeah, bodies does not interest me at all. If I see it at the library, I'll buy it for a quarter, but that's all I'm gonna do. That's the only way I'm gonna get it. Yeah, bodies. That's another movie that's overhyped. It's like that's not all that unusual. It's been done before. Happy Birthday to Me. That was like that. Um, it's no, I'm not interested in that. All the characters in that movie are very unlikable. If you read any review over and over and over, that's one of the things that comes in is that all these people are self-absorbed and they're not likable. So I mean, I just think that's just another overall hype job. I know Pete Davidson's in it, so he's like one of the media darlings at the moment. I don't know if he can act worth a tinker's damn. Um, but I knew that they stuck him in that movie, and I will say this about Jenna Ortega. I definitely think she's going to be She's definitely going to be rising to the top of the screen queen world. That girl got some lungs on her. Holy shit, she can scream! Wow. Um, and she's a good actress. I really liked her. That was the first time I've ever seen her. Because I haven't seen the Scream movies, and I haven't seen anything else that she's in. This is my first time that I've watched her, and I thought she was all right. Um, yeah, the only A24 film right now I really want to get is anything, everything, all at once. That's the only one I really, really want, real bad. Everything else, if it comes to me, it comes to me. But that one there with Michelle Yeoh, yeah, I really want to see that one. Um, so next week, I want to talk about this. So on next week on the 11th, we have another special guest. We're going to be having John from Grande's Graveyard. He's going to be coming on. It's going to be my special guest next week on the Midnight Society. The Bat is actually taking the month of September off, so I am running the show for September. And so next Sunday, John Grande from Grande's Graveyard will be here with me, and we will be talking about one of my favorite subjects. Is we're going to be talking about movies that we feel need more love. Some of our underrated, underneath the radar movies that people have forgotten or don't know about yet. And we're going to be talking about some of our favorites. I'm not sure if we're doing like 3 or 5. Of course, with me, I could pick 5 IFC movies. I could be very happy. But I'm going to try to pick some other movies out there that I think that deserve to be seen, that maybe have been forgotten, because there are a lot out there. That'll be a lot of fun. Kevin's mentioning X was decent, but I kind of think it was overhyped. I do too, Kevin. Honestly, I liked it well enough, but I didn't. I thought, for the hype it got, I didn't think it really lived up to it. Yeah, it was not. No, 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 it was not. The horror film that I personally I have liked this year, my number one horror film is Children of Sin. That movie, like I said before, the top of the show, that movie freaked me out, and there's some really disturbing scenes in there, some heebie-jeebie scenes in there, and that does not happen very much for me in horror films. Nothing much really rattles me, but there's a couple of scenes in there that just have me going like, "Oh hell no!" And I guarantee you, you'll feel the same way. Hobbs has seen Children of Sin too, so Hobbs knows what I'm talking about. Children of Sin is outstanding. It's the same theme as They and Them that they put out on Peacock, except that it's a much better movie. It's a much better movie. But again, it goes down to, like I said, next week, we're going to talk about movies that haven't got the love that they deserved. And one of the movies I definitely could talk about as far as that goes is either I could do those both. I could talk about Children of Sin, and I could talk Triggered. Both those movies are excellent, well written, well directed, but nobody really knows about them. And that's a shame, because they're because they deserve the love. Yeah, Children of Sin is on Tubi. Um, see, Kevin's mentioning all the A24 films fall flat to me, though. They tend to be kind of mediocre films with really good production values. You're preaching. You're preaching to the choir. I mean, some of the movies are good. I mean, Remember is outstanding. I would put up Remember is a top 20 film for me, a top 50 film for me forever. Cold Cut Bank is also top notch. Excellent movie. Super fun, well acted. I mean, there's a couple of A24 films there that I gotta say that are outstanding. I like The Witch. I like The Witch a lot. I like The Witch a lot. I thought it was really well done. I said it would have been a really more atmospheric. It would have been more of a good horror film, except they made the goat too cute. um, that was the only thing. But yeah, I feel like they get overhyped though. It's just like, let the movie come out and let it build organically. Let it come out, let it sell itself, instead of sitting there and beating the drum for it before you've seen it. God, worst movie ever. Worst movie ever. The Incredible Bulk. Oh man. Man, if I, you know what, Hobbs, if I ever do a truly top 20 or top 10 or whatever, absolutely garbage films, you're coming up to co-hosting that. Um, yeah. Just let you guys know too, to the calendar here real quick. So next week, next Sunday, like I said, for the Grande's Graveyard will be here. And then on the 18th, I'm not sure who I'm going to be hanging out with, but starting on the 18th, we will be doing the John Wick series. On the 18th, we're going to be covering John Wick 1, and then John Wick 2, and then John Wick 3. And then by that time, the Bat will be back by October. So, hey, Nanette, how are you? From the Entertainment Hideout. I love it. I love the new channel name. Yes, John Wick. Yeah, we're gonna cover all three movies. Oh, I have never watched them. I have never watched them. So I know that they've gotten more and more. Um, they sort of gotten that Fast and Furious vibe as they've gone on. Like John Wick has become more and more like a Superman. Um, but we'll take a look at it for sure. I'm excited. Holy cow, Lady Valerie has hung out all night with me. Hell yeah. Thank you, Valerie. I appreciate that so much. Oh, uh, oh my God. Jim, you crack me up. So let me tell you what's going on next week. Before I let you guys go, I've already reached my point. So next Tuesday we have from the Cinema Squad. They're taking over next week, and next Tuesday we have the Upside Dan will be with us. Dan Eckert will be here with us at 8 o'clock, and then on Wednesday we have Sean Jackson will be here with us. Lost in the Rio, he will be here with us on Wednesday 8 o'clock, and then on Thursday the 8th. We have Jace Burns will be here with us. Bokar Rokar, Buju Rokar. And it's gotta be a Star Wars name. And then on the Friday the 9th at 2 p.m. we have film director Kalinda Bongers will be here. She directed a movie I reviewed. My second favorite movie I've ever reviewed on my blog or YouTube is a movie called Molly. I've already introduced one of the co-directors. Now I'm getting a chance to interview the other one, and that's Kalinda Bongers. That'll be on next Friday at 2 p.m. And then that night, I am a guest on Doug and Ava Potterfield's channel. Ava and Friends. I will be a guest on her show next Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I don't know what the topic's going to be. I'm not sure what's going on. All I know is I'm heading on over there, and I'm going to have a great time. And I hope you guys will all come out with it. Come out and hang out. And of course, Thursday nights at 10 p.m., we have the Midnight Hour hosted by our good friend Hobbs Horror. That's Hobbs Horror, Popping the Popcorn, Katie. Got Mr. Bones, the Boglin, Mighty Casey, Sean Blue Digi, and of course, the Mighty Jennifer Tochi will be there. So that's on Thursday at 10 p.m. on Thursday. All right, boys and girls, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I want to say thank you guys all for coming out and supporting the show. I really do appreciate it so much. I was scared there'd be nobody here for this show. So thank you guys for hanging out, and we will talk to you. We'll talk to you on Tuesday. Again, if you can, you can head over to Gory B Movies channel. I'm sure everybody's subscribed to her. Head on over there. She's going to start her show at 10:30, and root for old dude vampire. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Peace.